This is gonna sound a little silly, but this $500 motherboard actually solved most of the issues I was having with my Intel X299 workstation. Today we'll be talking about the ASUS X299 Workstation SAGE motherboard and why it was a worthy upgrade for my workstation rig. Right after this.
TubeBuddy is the best tool you can get to manage your YouTube channel. You can update videos in bulk, optimize your SEO, syndicate to social media, back up your metadata, and more, all with a simple browser extension. Head to EposVox.com/TubeBuddy to learn more and download it for free.
Disclosure time! I bought this motherboard myself. Wasn't free. I'm not being paid to say this. There was a significant dent in my wallet as a result. Easy peasy. When I got my Intel Core i9-7980XE processor from Intel, that was a free review unit, it came with a Gigabyte Aorus Gaming 7 X299 motherboard. I've only used 1 or 2 Gigabyte motherboards in the past and didn't particularly like them, but I didn't see much of a problem with them either. And to be fair to Gigabyte, this motherboard would generally be fine if someone was building an X299 gaming rig. But I quickly ran into some limitations with it. I had 2 major issues with the Gigabyte gaming motherboard, along with an obnoxious coil whine that had developed over the past year. Clearly that's a per unit basis and not just a trend with that motherboard brand, I'm not saying that. Firstly, I kept seemingly bottlenecking my PCIe bandwidth. The 7980XE has 44 PCIe lanes that I was trying to use all of them, and it wasn't working out. My 10 gigabit NIC seemingly got bottlenecked at times, my NVMe storage drives had very poor performance. We're talking 200 megabytes per second on an Intel 750 series drive on a good day, and sometimes capture cards would act up. Plus, I didn't have enough slots, physical slots, in the first place. Secondly, the USB chipset on this motherboard seemed to be weak. I ran into similar issues moving from my AMD FX build on the glorious ASUS Crosshair V Formula Z motherboard, which had lots of ports and could handle all of the USB devices I could throw at it, and moving to the X99 build with the ASUS X99A2. My hub kept disconnecting, devices disconnected or lost power at random times, etc. I eventually found a slimmed down configuration that worked, and then that setup ran into USB issues on my X299 Aorus Gaming 7. There are a few onboard ports, so I had to rely on a hub. Plugging in new devices would frequently disconnect all devices, and sometimes USB devices would just randomly lose connection. Both of these are me. I build powerhouse workstations, and I put them to serious work. I use a lot of expansion cards and a lot of USB devices, and I'd expect an HEDT, high-end desktop something platform like X99 and X299 to support such a workflow. Turns out it can. I researched for a while and finally splurged and spent a whopping $500 on my first real workstation motherboard, the ASUS X299 WS SAGE. I've heard nothing but good things about ASUS's WS line of boards, and this one seemed to be perfect. It ticked all of my boxes. More PCIe slots, seemingly better at handling of PCIe lanes and bandwidth, 2 M.2 slots, 8 RAM slots, a front panel USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type-C connector, RGB, although that didn't work out, and lots of USB 2.0 and 3.0 ports, along with a 3.1 Gen 2 Type-A and Type-C port on the back I.O., and a nice clean audio chipset. Installing it was a tight fit, and I later learned that somehow upon my first insertion of the front USB 3.0 front panel connector, I bent one of the header pins on the board and then later broke it off trying to fix it. So that part sucks, but that was my fault. Otherwise, it worked. It's got some very uncomfortable fan header placement, with one being bent up by my GPU, and I didn't have another cable mod sleeved PCIe power cable to run to the power header on the board for the PCIe slots. I don't necessarily need it, but I wanted to use it just in case. Also, the addition of that extra PCIe slot at the top makes everything else a very tight fit. The RAM slots are right on top of the GPU, which means I couldn't install the custom backplate that I had ordered, but that's fine, it went in the gaming rig and most people probably think it's cringy anyway. Also, the I.O. shield is spaced far enough away from the I.O. that some USB-C cables struggle to stay plugged in the back, which kind of sucks, but that might be my case as well. And originally, my Gigabyte chosen 5-pin RGB strip no longer works with the motherboard, and I cannot find an adapter. So it's not perfect. I wanted to make that clear. It's not perfect. But the important part is those juicy PCIe lanes and USB ports. I've had none of those issues with USB disconnects or anything like that on this board, and I actually get to plug in more stuff again, which is fantastic. I was eventually able to optimize my fan curve to keep things nice and cool, get a RAM Overclock Stable on the first try that the gaming motherboard flat out would not post with, and I can overclock my 7980XE to hell and back, only limited by the cooling of that little oven. And PCIe lanes are good too. I keep my GTX 1080 Ti, a 10 gigabit NIC, the Intel 750 series NVMe SSD, and a 4K 60 capture card in the rig at most times, and I still have slots available. I will be adding in a USB 3.0 card that gives me a replacement front port header soon as well, once I can find one that actually works. I've gone through 2 now. My Intel 750 SSD is now back up to full speed as far as I can tell. My M.2 drives haven't really improved performance much, but that's because they're both actually ran through the chipset with a single 4x speed link to the CPU. That seems to be how all Intel chipsets are at the moment, from what I've been able to glean watching Windows motherboard coverage over at Level 1 Techs, so that kind of sucks. I wound up giving myself way more headache trying to do a cooler swap, as I showed either in a video that's already gone live or will be going live soon. But otherwise, this $500 motherboard has basically solved all of my problems with my X299 rig. The only thing left to do would be to delid my 7980XE, which I honestly don't think I'm doing anytime soon. If you want to buy this motherboard or the recently released new version of it with much less USB ports, but 10 gigabit NICs on board, affiliate product links will be in the description down below. While you're there, hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe, and enable notifications for more tech education. I'm EposVox, and I will see you next time.